Hello and welcome to another Monday night live Q&A. We hope you're well and managing to stay safe in these very uncertain times. I'm joined tonight by Mark Barnes-Ryder from the Technical Helpline team. Good evening, Mark.
Evening, Sam.
How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Very well. Managing to stay safe and keep my head down, but wondering when all this madness is going to end.
Well, yeah, I think at least half the country is in that state. How's it been for a Monday?
Not too bad. I mean, we're still seeing plenty of callers on the helpline, and we're still receiving quite a large number of sort of new applicants, which is good news for one reason or another. So it's business as usual at the moment.
Yeah, very, very much so. We're trying to maintain levels of support and processes with our registered contractors as much as we can. We've got all three streams up and running, and a few people come into the room to say hello and good evening. So good evening to everybody. We'll start off with the question that we had out as our question of the week, which was, can I install the cooker isolator in one of the kitchen cupboards? It's a question that often comes in. It seems now that people are far more conscious of the aesthetic look and feel, and they don't want a big red isolator switch visible above worktops. So what's your thoughts on that? Can the cooker isolator be installed in a kitchen cupboard, Mark?
So it can. I mean, there's nothing in BS 7671 that prohibits that. And so if it's going to be hidden away, as it were, then it needs to be labelled so that it's clear as to the circuit or the appliance that it's meant to be isolating. And we would add to that if it's going to go into a cupboard, that it would need to be accessible for operation and for any maintenance that might need to be carried out, but also regarding the wiring to that isolator, the wiring would need to be suitably protected, given perhaps additional mechanical protection. But yeah, absolutely, it's becoming more and more common practice amongst new kitchen installs. Yeah.
So I think, like you say, perhaps benefit from a bit of additional labelling because it's not visible with the cooker. People might need to understand what its purpose is, and also the location, although can be permitted within the cupboard, it should be in a suitable place. So think about what the cupboard's used for, and you don't want people inadvertently operating the isolator when they're putting things in or out of the cupboard. And also we want it on a durable bit, so certainly not on the door or drawers or movable parts, but on a solid bit of the cupboard. But yeah, as you rightly say, there's nothing that prevents it or prohibits it. And so it's just good workmanship and proper materials would mean that it's perfectly acceptable. Sorry, go on.
I would just add to that it, as you say, it needs to be mounted properly in accordance with manufacturer's instructions, and also suitable for the area, taking account of any external influences. There's a couple of regs I can think of there.
Yeah.
133.3 and 512.2.1.
Yeah, so everything has to be suitable for the environment it's installed in, or the way we install it makes it suitable. So yeah. There was a question straight in. Obviously somebody's been thinking about this today, a burning question. Coding for tails coming out of the cutout into an isolator, fused or unfused, then to the consumer unit through the wall, and can't confirm depth of cables. What code would be used for this on inspections? So I would suggest, if we can't confirm the depth and it is run in the wall and not just through the wall, if it's run in the wall and we can't confirm that it's greater than 50 mil, we're then looking at, well, is it RCD protected, or has it been run with a cable type that's got additional mechanical protection, for example SWA? If it's not RCD protected and it hasn't got its own inbuilt mechanical protection, then without being able to confirm that it's at a depth of less than 50 mil, we'd recommend a C3. Obviously, if there are other issues like you're not achieving maximum ZS because of the way it's run, so now we haven't got fault protection, that brings in other areas. But specifically, if we're just looking about the depth and we can't confirm that it's greater than 50, then we'd suggest a C3 if it hasn't got RCD protection or it hasn't got additional mechanical protection. Would you agree with that, Mark?
That sounds fair. Yeah, I mean we're trying to sort of not answer so many of the coding questions tonight because we've got a dedicated Wednesday evening for that. But yeah, I mean if the cable hasn't got its own earth mechanical protection, or a standard cable's not in earthed metallic conduit or trunking.
Question that's coming through the feed: on a TT system with a ZS reading of 0.1, do you still need an upfront RCD on the installation? So a ZS reading of 0.1, which is tremendous on a TT system, do you still need an upfront RCD? What's your thoughts on upfront RCD requirements on TT, Mark?
Yeah, so I'm struggling to hear that. There's you're breaking up with the sound, but from the gist, are we asking if you need an upfront RCD where the ZS is too high or the ZE is too high?
No, I think from reading the question, it says on a TT system with a ZS reading of 0.1, which is phenomenal. That's really good. So it's saying the ZS is okay. That's the way I'm interpreting the question. And it's just, do we need an upfront RCD on a TT system?
Oh, okay. So you don't. There is a regulation. I'll give you the regulation. We can rely on class 2 insulation or double or reinforced insulation. But what we say is providing the supply to the first board isn't too long and they're installed in such a way as to reduce the possibility of those towels becoming damaged.
Yeah.
So and we also go on to say that where the towels go into the before they go into the top of the main switch, perhaps it might be a good idea to put some additional insulation on the live and neutral conductors going in to the top of the main switch to try and maintain that level of double insulation, and also use a class 2 stuffing gland or equivalent where it hits that enclosure.
Yeah. So as you say, there's a reg that permits it. Quite rightly, everything you said there around if we can maintain that degree of protection provided by double insulation. So as you say, use glands that allow you to maintain the double insulation until the tails are inside the enclosures, and keep it in a situation where those double insulated tails are not likely to be mechanically impacted. Then providing all of the outgoing circuits have got RCD protection, there's no requirement to put an upfront RCD on the tails. It's possible, it's not prohibited, but you've got to consider it as the downside of being a single point of failure where you'd lose everything, which is why we suggest it's a consideration to try and avoid it and just rely on that double insulation as your means of protection against electric shock for the tails.
Yeah, that's I mean the regulation, it's underneath table 53.1 on page 156 of the regs. It's quite a long reg. You'd need quite a lot of ink in your pen. It's 531.3.5.3.2.201. And, if you've got a sort of 10 metre long submain, then we wouldn't expect you to rely possibly just on class 2 insulation in that instance. We're talking where you can install a relatively short run of tails or circuit to minimise the chance of that circuit becoming damaged under normal operating conditions.
Yeah. Okay, looking at the feed again, we've got one. Do we need to notify additions and alterations under Part P? What's your thoughts on that one, Mark?
Okay, so there's kind of two avenues here, because obviously in Wales, a kitchen's still considered a special location. So, but let's take the special location of a bathroom, and if there's any alterations or additions being carried out within zones 1 and 2 of a bathroom, then those will need to be notified. And likewise, if there's any alterations or installation work carried out in a kitchen in Wales, that will also need to be notified under Part P regulations.
Yeah, it's so in general, additions and alterations don't need to be notified unless they're in a special location, and then it's just a consideration due to different building regs. There are slight differences between England and Wales as to what's considered a special location. So yeah, in general, it's only addition or alterations in the zones of a special location. Okay.
So I must just say that can include zone 0, can't it? Zone 0, 1 and 2. So
yeah. Okay. Okay, looking at the feed again. If an incoming main water service is plastic pipe and we have RCD protection for all of the circuits, do we still need a water earth bond? So this is talking about plastic service pipe for the water service. Do we still need to bond the water, even if perhaps the service pipework changes to copper and conductive material in the property? There
is no specific requirement, and the regulation makes it quite clear on that, and it now includes, if you've got a plastic insert in that conductive part, if the plastic insert is inside the building, there's no requirement. So, the only thing I'd add to that is that on large installations, it might be possible for some of that copper pipe work within the installation to find its way down to the general mass of earth. When I say large installations, it could be student accommodation, it could be low-rise flats, or such like. So it's important on large installations that you're fully aware of where all that pipe work goes, and you might need to carry out some more testing to that extent. There's no specific requirement. Sorry, Sam. And it's the bonding reg 411.3.1.2 that allows for plastic intersection, if you like, or non-conductive intersection.
Yeah, so it all boils round to the fact that although the pipework within the property might be copper and therefore conductive, if it hasn't got a conductive path to outside, then it can't introduce a different potential. So if it's connected to plastic pipework, then the plastic's going to act as an insulator, so it won't have any connection to the outside world, and unless, as you said, it disappears underground within the building and re-emerges, in which case now we would have to consider bonding it at those points where it is truly extraneous, i.e. it has direct connection to the outside world. Let's have a look at what else we've got. Are there any special arrangements for a long run of meter tails?
Are there any special arrangements? The distributor will generally be happy to protect sort of up to 3 meters of their tails using the distributor's cutout. So where it's kind of longer than that, unless you can sort of obtain permission from them that they would be happy for their fused or protective device to protect more than 3 meters, you generally should be thinking about putting an additional protective device further downstream. I mean, you could come across limitations with maximum ZS if it's